it's time to build SESI-Snacks. So I'm going to treat this like it was a real client project. So kind of similar to how it would be if a client approached you to, like, can you do this commercial? Good to point out is that generally these food commercials are shot in real life because getting food to look good is really hard in CG. But so a lot of these shots are generally shot in real life if they can, and if they cannot, then they will be done in 3D. There are also a ton of examples of stuff being done fully in 3D. And I'm gonna go over that in a second, but for this example, I have just made a storyboard, which is just going to be the screenshots from the actual final video. But just imagine that this was a drawn out storyboard, and let's say we get this from a client and we're like, oh wait, we need to make these shots. So we kind of have a rough outline, and of course during the process of making something like this, stuff can change. I mean, when I started out putting this together as an animatic, stuff did change in the process, but it's always good to sort of have an animatic to outline what you're gonna do, because else you're just building stuff and throwing a lot away. And if you have an animatic of which is already edited, so an animatic is essentially an edit of just basic placeholder stuff, essentially. So that's what we're first going to be making, and then we're going to split it out into individual shots, and then we're going to make the actual cool effects. So we're going to tweak all of the effects, but this is roughly where we're going to be making. So it depending on the client, what you're going to get is they might approach you like, oh, I want to have a commercial, and we roughly have an idea, but like you figure it out, you go and figure out the shots. Or often when it comes in via an agency, they might have already have outlined what they want. So they will send you like a storyboard or a mood board or roughly what it's going to be. Or they might have an idea outlined, they get a director involved, and they are going to work with you on how everything is going to be put up. But in this case, I'm just going to treat it as if this is something that I've been sent. Of course, I did develop this myself, but for the sake of this course, I'm just going to pretend that I was sent this thing. So the first thing well, of course, they're also going to send a reference. So an important reference for me was this thing. So this is rough reference of something that I looked at, which is sort of similar type video. I think a lot of this has actually been shot, by the way. So I'm pretty sure that this was shot, and that the sparks that coming off from it were in CG. Again, I'm not sure, but I think this was shot, because a lot of these types of videos get shot in real life. So this is probably CG, but in the chocolate's probably CG. But we're just gonna use this as a rough reference. And I also shot some of my own reference. I got some. Yeah, I just bought a Twix bar and shot some pictures of it. Yeah, just so you have an idea of what that looks like. And alternatively, you might also get a mood board of like the vibe that you're going for. But this is going to be what we will be developing, and that's how I'm going to be setting it up. So imagine this is your storyboard, even though these are the final shots. But that's just because, well, I mean, I've already made the final film. So yeah. So let's just start diving in how we start setting up a project like. Alright, so we have all of the material, we have the reference, we know sort of what it's going to be. So important what we need to do is, before we start building our animatic, because I am going to first build an animatic, like I mentioned, it's good to have an animatic so you have a rough idea of if your edit is going to work. Like we have the idea, like we have these shots, and like someone thought about like your director or whatever, or yourself, maybe you came up with this idea yourself, and you think, this sequence, this is gonna work. But often when you start putting this in motion, you will notice that not all of the ideas that you have will work the way that you think. That's why doing an animatic is generally a good idea. So how we're gonna approach this is, I'm going to have a Houdini scene, which is going to be my animatic scene. And I'm going to just build some rough like setups for every single shot. Just very simple, so we're not going to add a lot of detail. Just going to make some flipbooks for this. And then we're going to edit these flipbooks together. I'm going to do that in Premiere, but you can edit in whatever you want. You can edit in Resolve, you can edit in whatever. If you're already familiar with like a production process for commercials, this I might sound like a lot of stuff you might already know, but I'm like depending on your on how often times you've already done this. Like this might be new. That's why I'm already that's why I'm gonna take you throughout the entire process of how something like this comes together. So we're gonna just make a animatic with just some very simple assets, and we're gonna edit this together in Premiere, or if you can edit in Resolve or Avid, wherever you want to edit in. And then we're gonna expand upon those shots. If the edit ends up working well, then we're gonna split out these tests into individual shots, and then we are going to make the actual shots like they're seen in the final film. You might notice here that my shots are numbered shot 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55. The reason why I'm not labeling it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, is because if you're working like this, and let's say you're gonna split this out on shots later, and you end up needing an extra shot in between. If you're labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and it's gonna be hard to add something in between. But if you're labeling them shot 10, shot 20, whatever, you can add an extra shot like shot 15 in between. And then if you add something between 15 and 20, you could make it 16, or you could make it 17 or whatever. But you can add stuff in between these shots. And the reason why I made this 10 and then 15 is because these, in my final shot at least, are sort of, they are made in the same scene. It's just a different camera. So I kind of group those together. Then this is a separate shot, this is a separate shot, this is a separate shot. And these also are in the same scene. When I originally set this up, some of these were split up. Like this was originally 50 and this was 60, but they ended up being put together. But that's why I'm labeling it like that. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's dive into Houdini. And so when you're doing a project, it's of course important to stay organized. And the way I stay organized is I have my own folder structure, and I have a video on how my own folder structure works. It's just called VFX folder structure. I am embedding this video also in the side effects page, so you can watch it there if you haven't watched it yet. But this will be how I am organizing all my renders, files, assets, whatever. So I'm going to assume that you watch this. I'm going to roughly go over some of these things again, but this is it's a 40-minute video. So if you haven't watched this is going to go into a lot more detail. But in the downloads with this project, you're going to get this project folder, which is this thing. And I named it SESI-Snacks project. And these will be all of the folders. And in 3D, let's go into Houdini and let's make an animatic folder. As you can see, I already made an animatic folder and I saved a project in here, which is the project I currently have open. So in here, let's make TVH shot setup. Again, this is my own shot setup tool. You can use your own things if you're used to using a different shot organizing workflow, like if you're using shotgun or whatever. But for the sake of this course, I'll be using this thing. All right, so let's define our project root, which will be the root of our project. So let's paste in this and let's put forward slashes. That's not going to work. I need to change this. I'm rebuilding some of these assets to do this stuff automatically, but that's not in here yet. Might be by the time that you're watching it, but all right. So SESI-Snacks is going to be the project name, and shot is going to be Animatic. You can leave this empty. We don't need a cache directory unless you're going to use a cache directory, but I'm just going to be doing it in my work drive. All right, so this is set up. Now what we need to do is, I've already saved my project, but if you haven't saved your project, you can go to File, Save As. You can save it out. You can see this is it. Save it. Then go to File, Set Project, and then set it to your $hip location. Again, like already explained in this video, this will now evaluate if I put a geometry somewhere, and let's say I put File, and I put it to $job. This will reference to my current hip location. If I put it to $root, Oh, let's put it to like that, to $root. This is a reference to the root project. So just so that is somewhat clear. Right, so now we have this scene. Let's make some subnetworks, and in these subnetworks, we're gonna be building these individual shots that we have in here. So a good reference also to maybe do is like we have this thing here, and what we can do is we can actually pin this in the viewport. So let me Control B this, and we have a full viewport. You can press the plus icon here. We can go to that location. No, we need to actually go to, let's go just like this. Incoming. Right, we have the storyboard here. Right, so you can see I put the storyboard over there. And you can see now it shows up in my viewport. So I don't necessarily need to open this thing in here. I can just have it like this. And if you want to change this, just make it a bit smaller again. You can go to Tools, Edit Background Images, and you can move it around and you can change the brightness, like something like that. Tools. Right. So now we have it in here, so it might be a little bit easier to sort of see what we're doing. Let's maximize it again, and let's sort of configure some subnetworks so we can make our animatic. So let's make a subnetwork. Let's call this. By the way, with P on the keyboard, you can open this thing if you didn't know that. All right, so let's call this shot 010. And in this, we're also gonna have 11, right? Because or 15, sorry. Because these are sort of grouped together. So for now, just let's keep it like that. Let's copy and paste this. Let's do 020. 030. 040. Right. 050. So we have these subnetworks. Let's just unhide them. And we can work in these subnetworks, and each individual subnetwork will be their own, like will be its own working area. Like if we go into subnet 1 here and make it big, like we can work in this big. But if we go out of the subnetwork again, like over here, and let's make in 20, we make another test geometry like rubber toy. You can see we have rubber toy here. But they're contained in their own network. And inside of these things, we can also like add our own camera. Okay, I could add a camera. Camera will always be added here on the root, so we need to paste that in. But I can add a camera in here, and then I can look through shot 20 cam run, for example. So that's going to be this thing. I could have a different camera in shot 10. So that's going to be shot 10 camera. So let's say that's going to be this thing. So we can now start working inside of the subnetworks to sort of define our shots. So we have the pig here. So, and as I mentioned, later we're going to split this up into actual separate Houdini files, separate folders, all of that stuff. But just for the animatic, it's just easy to sort of go back and forth just within the same file. But later you do want to split it up because it will just start getting heavier and heavier and heavier the more stuff you start doing in a file. So you do want to sort of keep it organized and keep it clean. But so something else that we need to do before we get started, we need to change our frame rate. We're going to be making this as a commercial. So of course, when you're doing a commercial, it's going to be important what region or what format you're going to be making it for. If this is going to be a web commercial, for example, or if it's going to be a North American commercial, then it's going to be 30 frames per second. If you're going to do this for Europe, then it's going to probably be 25, or unless it's France, they have a different standard. But general 30. 30 is also good for web. So let's do click this button here. Standard is 24, but let's put it to 30. So now our project is at 30 frames per second. So now that it is all configured, we can actually get started. Right, so another thing you might want to do is change your user interface a little bit. So you can split these panes. So you can see where are we? Oh yeah, so split left, right, split top, bottom. You can use Alt and then the thing here. So I'm going to split this top, bottom. I'm going to put this to inspectors, geometry spreadsheet, because that's something you use quite a lot. And we're going to be splitting these as well. We're gonna link these up. Right. So I'm gonna just revert it back to my own saved user interface, but what you can do once you have, and I also have this sidebar, what you can also do is just save it and then load it later. And mine is called UHD. I took that name once I had a UHD monitor, but I'm recording this one on UHD. And I also have one that's called keihard werken, which means working really hard in Dutch. Anyway, so yeah, all right. So we have this this thing here. We have our setup here. We can also close these if we want, but it's just easy to sort of pop these out. And yeah, let's just start working a little bit in this area. And we can also add the storyboard into our individual networks here if you want. So we could also add it again in here, so you can sort of see what we're doing. And just remove these remove this camera. Yeah, and let's build this thing. Very basic, of course. Nothing advanced yet. That's what we're gonna do later. Let's just make a geometry. Let's make a box. So we're just gonna make a little box here. So roughly the size of that our bar is gonna be. So yeah, that's gonna be our bar. All right, let's fracture it. Let's use material fracture. Then we don't have to do anything ourselves. It's just a built-in tool that's in there. I think since Houdini 17.5 or 18, but you can see it. It'll fracture it. Let's just do one fracture level. Let's do scatter points. Let's do like 90. We need to change some stuff here a little bit because it's sort of going to, let's change the noise, right? Right, so now we get some sort of a fractured thing. So that's a little bit like we have, if we go up level like this, right? Of course, we're going to detail this a lot more later. But of course, like I mentioned, we first need to just make sure that we know that everything is going to work like we imagined it will work. So let's make a camera here as well. Just call the camera 010. Let's look to the camera and lock it, and then press Shift F, and then we're gonna focus on it. I'm just gonna do roughly what we had, and let's just to demo this, because we don't, of course we're gonna make this a little bit more advanced later, but let's use an exploded view. So that might be cool. Or maybe an easier way to sort of maybe animate this. Let's assemble this. So let's pack it. If I put assemble, this is going to be, and then create pack geometry. This is going to be packed. They're going to be treated as individual points. And let's add an attribute VOP. And let's just put down a turbulent noise. Put it in position. If you're not familiar with all of these things, like I mentioned, there's a whole bunch of things over on Side Effects about basics. And I have my own Houdini course called Houdini 101, which goes super into depth on this stuff, which is watchable for free, at least the first half. All right, so we're just going to put it in here. I'm just going to offset these positions. Later, we're going to be doing this with dynamics, of course. But for now, all we're interested in is just getting a rough sort of, that they're just flying apart and coming together, right? So just increase this amplitude. Let's do Berlin noise, simplex, right? All right, something like this. So now we can sort of animate this out. All right, so now we have this basic thing. Let's also add a little logo in there, because if we're going to send something like this to a client, they want to see our logo, obviously, because their logo is their everything. Let's put on a trace, and trace does what it says it does. It traces an image. So let's put it to $root, because that's going to reference our root, right? So that's why this is super useful. Let's put it to reference, because I have put some reference in there, and the reference is going to be our logo, right? So if we select that, highlight it, you can see we get our Houdini logo. Now let's poly extrude it outward. because clients just like to see their logo. So in general, like stuff like this might be useful to do. And also, before we're gonna fracture this, let's like VDB from polygons from this box. Houdini has very nice built-in VDB tools like this, and they can just be super useful also for just simple mocking up like we're doing now. So what I can also do, for example, is then do another, by the way, let's first rotate this thing a little bit. Let's put it to center, move center to origin and 0 out to translates. Now it's going to be in the center. Let's rotate it to -90. Let's make it a little bit bigger so it's sort of around the size that we want. Let's move it up a little bit. Let's change our box maybe a little bit, maybe. All right. I guess something like that. Right, let's have a VDB from polygons, and let's do another VDB from polygons on our logo. Let's make it a VOG VDB, and let's do VDB reshape SDF. And use erode. And what this will allow us to do is erode out our VDB here by the shape of this thing, of this VDB that we have here. So let's just erode it out. Let's make these VDBs a little bit higher resolution. Let's actually maybe position it properly. So now you can see now I eroded it out. All right, now let's just convert this. Convert it to polygons, and let's increase the adaptivity. We don't need it to be a high resolution thing. We just need something on there for the animatic. So now we have the logo in there. Now it's going to fracture. And then once we do this, we can increase the amplitude, and you can see it's going to do that thing with the logo. So now the client's going to be happy because they can see their logo. Where's logo? Logo, where are you? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong direction. All right. Oh, I need to move the logo up, not down. I was doing it in the wrong orientation. Right. So let's do like that. We have the logo, fracture it. You can see it's all pretty fast. And now the client is super happy because they have their thing. All right, let's just animate this a little bit. So I guess maybe on frame, let's say 90. Let's put this to, I don't know, something like high. Right, something like that. Oh no, by the way, on 90 it should be 0. And then on the first frame here, should make it like something like that. Right, and let's just type some values in offset. So $T, $T, $T. So it's gonna animate a little bit. That's a little bit too much. Let's go in there. Let's remote roughness. So let's see if let's do $T divided by 10. Right. So again, this is not how we're going to do it for the final shot. This is just going to be for our animatic, so we kind of know what the hell we're dealing with. Right. So we have our shot, first shot. Let's make an output here. So this is always going to output this thing. Let's move up a little bit. Right. So we have shot 1. Rip. Beautiful. Let's do another shot. So we have the second shot. That's and by the way, we can already maybe define our camera. So we need. So the camera size, maybe for this thing, we want it to be like somewhat more wide angle, so it looks bigger. And let's copy and paste it. Let's call it 15. And then for the close-up, let's do like a nice, like big focal length, or sort of, yeah, so something like that. Alright, so let's look pretty cool. So yeah, now we have 2 shots. And we can do this time ramping inside of the editor, so inside of Premiere. So I'm not gonna bother with that. Then later, once we have the animatic, we can later do our time ramps for this specific shot in Houdini. But for now, it's just mocking everything up. So, right. So let's generate a flipbook for this thing. If you're not familiar, flipbook is just Houdini's version of a play blast or whatever you call it in the program that you're generally working with. There's multiple ways to do this. I'm just gonna show you the default way, and then another way with a tool that I made, which you can get on my website. But let's just click this button over here. So just hold this, flipbook new settings. You can just say RF start means render frame start. So that's going to start at 1. I could also just manually type 1 there. I can put the resolution in here. And if I just press start, it's going to open up this mplay. So mplay will save all of these images. And again, this is a very simple thing. We're going to make this look much nicer. But again, this is just for the animatic. So you can play it back here, and what we can do is go to File, Save Sequence, and then I can go to over here. Let's make a folder called Flipbook. Let's call it V001 and call it shot010 underscore V001 underscore $f4.jpg. So if I type $f4, it will use the frame number, save it out as every frame number, and then with a padding of 4. So it will be 0001, 0002. Right. So let's do a little bit of compression and save it out. Right. So if I now go to the proper folder, you can see I have a whole image sequence here. I could open this with, and let's see, DJV, whatever you pronounce that. And we'll have it here. And then we can load this into Premiere later for our animatic. There's another way we can also generate a flipbook is with a tool that I have. So let's make a top network. Top stands for task operators. That's Houdini's sort of workflow to automate certain tasks. For example, automate a flipbook. So I have something called TVH flipbook generate. This is also discussed in the folder structure thing that I'm talking about. So what I could do is I can say scene path will be this thing. And right, there we go. So which camera do we want? We want this camera. For some reason it keeps resetting that thing. I'm not sure why it's doing that. And cannot object can leave everything because the scene path is already pointed to the correct path. Now, let's say we're gonna put shot 010 because that's the one. And let's put it to the second one because we already saved one out, right? So let's do frame range. Let's do also 100 frames. And let's just click on this and press Shift V. And it's gonna cook it. We'll go to this folder. It should get a... It's gonna take a while to start up before it actually... Alright, there we go. So flipbook. You can see now it made a folder here called shot010, 2. And then in here we have 2 folders, image, which will have the images. And it'll also have an MP4, which is just an MP4 of our thing, which can be quite useful. Let me just delete this. So what makes this useful is that I could also export these to another location. Like I could also put these to, like for example, I could do $root/flipbook. And if I were to do that, it would export to my $root. But again, let's just, for now, just put it to, just keep it like this. I'm just gonna export it again. So that's how you export just a flipbook. So you can do it like this, or you can use this tool, make your own tool. I mean, do whatever you want, but yeah, so that's the first shot. So I guess let's call this shot 10. I'm just gonna export them like this. Let's do shot 15 as well. And for shot 15, we need a different camera, of course. And I'm gonna also generate shot 15. Right. Same range. Let's just do that one. Oh, I still had it named. All right. Let me just, let's try that again. So what I can do is I can actually, if I right click on this. I can do delete these node's results. Let's do it like that. Delete these node's results and automatically delete them from disk. And now I should be able to cook them both at the same time. So now it'll cook both these flipbooks. So you can see now we get 2 folders. You can see them both cooking here. But again, it doesn't matter which way you export them. This is just some sort of automation thing that I happen to make. 15 is empty. So let me check what's up with that. So let's just take seam path. Oh, yeah, seam path should be the proper thing. So seam path, and then camera path should be this one. It's weird that it's resetting. So all right, so that should work. Let's try it again. Delete from disk. Right. I have one shot here. It's this thing. And I have that one. Beautiful. All right. So let's do the second shot. All right. So for the second shot, we're going to make this one. So the caramel going to the camera. So let's go into the second subnetwork and delete these things that we made earlier. Let's just copy and paste the cookie thing that we had from over here. So we made this cookie, right? So maybe what we can do is make a null here. Let's just reference the same cookie. So let's call this out cookie or something. Right. Copy that. Go into this thing, object merge. Or first geometry, of course. Object merge. And merging that cookie, and then we have this cookie. Maybe we want to cache this out, by the way, so we don't have to constantly cook it. So let's do a file cache. Let's put a file cache in between here. I have these presets. Again, these are discussed in the folder structure thing, but you can also just manually do this. Like I just have some presets here, but you can also just type your output here yourself. You could do $job/mycookie.bgo.sc, for example, and it would save out as that thing, but I just have these presets which I have saved out as a default. But again, that's discussed in the other video. So let's go to my cookie, and don't want a frame. Let's save it out like that and put load to disk. All right, and it's not going to keep cooking the whole time. So let's go in here. All right, so we have this cookie, and what do you want to do? Well, we want to sort of droop caramel on it. And because in Houdini, the simulation tools are actually quite simple to use, like just basic simulation tools. So let's just do a very simple, like low resolution sim, even for the animatic. Like it's going to be easier to just do a simple sim than to do it another way. So what we can just do is make a box, for example. So let's make an emitter. Right, so let's make this thing an emitter. So let's like, maybe let's put it in the center first. Right. Right, so this thing. Let's template this. Let's move this up. With enter, you can activate all these nodes, by the way. So just in case you were wondering. And with if you click this thing, you can template something. I know these are basic things, but just keep, in case you forgot, then I'll just mention that. Alright, so we have this thing. And let's make a let's emit some stuff. Right. So let's do a fluid source. Source flip source. All right. Let's connect it. All right. So you can see this will make a VDB from it, so a volume, and it will add some points. So let's increase the resolution a little bit. We'll go more into how this exactly works, like when we're actually going to work on this shot. Again, I'm going through this quite quickly right now, just to crank out the animatic, because just generally, like, we're not going to care for how it looks right now. It's just going to be well, I mean, we're going to care for how it sort of feels and how it works in the edit, but not for the specific look. But anyway, what this thing does is it just creates a VDB surface. So it's going to be the surface of the fluid kind of, and inside here there are points. You cannot really see them right now. Well, if I put this, you can see there's a couple of points in there. 113. If I put down an add, for example, and I put it to delete geometry key points, you can see actual points there as well. Right, so maybe we want some more points. I could increase the resolution there. All right, so we have this cookie here, and let's make a dot network. And let's put the cookie in the first input and this thing in the second input. Right, so let's make a flip solver because we're gonna solve some flip. Right, well, what else do we need? A flip object. So in DOPS, how it works is we have a solver that solves the simulation, and we have an object that contains the simulation. So, and then we're in here, we're gonna put the sources. So kind of how, so let's do a source, poem source. So kind of how it's gonna go is this is gonna source our particles, and it's gonna go like this. This is gonna calculate it, and then it's gonna put it over there into the flip object. So this does calculations, and gonna put it in here. So hope that kind of makes sense. Right, so let's put this to some input. There's multiple ways we could do that. So let's go into our thing. So we can make some nulls, for example, in flip. And let's do. Just gonna show you a couple of different ways to do it. And with this, we're gonna say in collision. Right, we can reference this stuff. So we could, for example, drag this in, and you can see it does a reference like that. Or we could do is do backtick, then type up input path, do it like that, then make a open bracket, then put one of these, 2 quotation marks, then 2 dots. That means up 2 levels. So one will mean inside of this thing, another one will mean go outside of this level again. And then we want to take the second input, so that's going to be 1 because we start at 0. All right, and do another backtick. And that's also gonna, you can see that's going to evaluate to the in flip. So if you do it like that, it's generally an easy way to sort of reference them. Right, let's do a static object. Let's merge our static object in. Merge, and then merge the flip solver in. So and this might be a little bit confusing, but Houdini generally you merge in collisions like after the solver. So, all right, so let's go up a level. All right, and for this thing, for the source volume, let's put it to source flip. Right, so you can see points appear here, but we also have these weird points over here, which we don't want. So let's go to flip object, and we don't want any default stuff. So let's just delete that. And what we also want to do is we don't want these big things here. We want to go to guides. And let's go to particles. And let's go to particles. All right, so now it's just generally sources particles. And now if I play, nothing really happens. All right, and we also need to, with this static object, we're going to load our collision. So let's just grab this, copy the script that we have here. Just paste it in the stop path. Let's make it 0. Right, so it's going to load that thing. And let's put down the gravity. So gravity is going to pull this down. You can tell it how much it should pull it down, but I mean the force of gravity is minus 9.80, whatever. You can play with that if you want. All right, let's just press play, and you can see we have something happening, but our resolution of our flip sim is not really that well. So let's first just fit this box that we have. So we have select your flip solver, and with space and 2, let's check the front view or the top view. Let's just fit this box first a little bit more. It doesn't make sense to have. So that's like this is the volume that our flip solver sort of operates in. So outside of these bounds, our flip solver doesn't do anything. Inside these bounds, it will do solving. So this will still not make a difference. But it's just, I mean, for flip, it doesn't really matter if you have a very big, what do you call it? Volume, I guess, or bounce, but just it makes a little bit more sense if we have just small working area to just make it smaller. And then over here, we have on the flip object, we can set the resolution of our sim. So if we change this particle separation to 0.02, for example, now you can see, now we certainly get some fluids. So what we can do is we can right click on this, copy parameter, and let's link this to our flip source, because we have in our flip source here, we have voxel size, and this will link it up, and then particle separation also link it up. This is also what the shelf tools do, by the way, by default. If you if you use the particle fluids here and you do all this stuff, this will dump this stuff down by default. So it can also be easy to just use the shelf tools, but I figured might as well show how it sort of works if you're building this yourself, because it's generally what you're going to be doing. But shelf tools are definitely a good sort of solution. If you're not sure what you're doing, just put down shelf tools and you can kind of look through it. Right, so let's increase this a little bit because maybe a little bit extreme. All right, so let's play. And of course, this is way too fluidy, sort of. So we want it to be a little bit thick, right? So what we need to do is we need to tell the flip solver to be, well, to be viscous, sort of. Right, so let's go to volume motion and let's go to viscosity. And right, so let's enable viscosity, and let's also enable viscosity with adaptivity. This is a new feature in Houdini 18.5. So if you're not on 18.5, it won't be here, but this will speed up the like if you're working with viscous fluids, viscosity with adaptivity will speed it up quite significantly. So, and of course we're going to do viscous fluids here, so that makes sense in our case. And we also want to maybe control this by attribute. That will mean that we can put an attribute on these points, and then the viscosity will be driven by this attribute. So we can sort of set this wherever we want, but let's just set it on our point itself. So let's make an attribute create over here on the right. Attribute create. Let's call it viscosity. Because again, here, viscosity attribute asks for this name. We could call this anything we want. We could call this cheese, and then it would also work. But in this case, we're going to call it viscosity because that's what we want, right? But again, it's arbitrary. These are just arbitrary attributes. You could call them whatever you want. Doesn't matter. All right. So, yeah, viscosity. And right now, if I play, nothing changes. Well, it changes a little bit, as you can see, because we have enabled it. But let's say if I now increase this to, let's say, 100. You can see what's happening there. Let's increase this resolution a little bit more, by the way. It's 2.2. We just have a little bit more points to work with. But you can definitely see what's going on there, right? So let's make it even a little bit thicker even. Let's do 500. Probably we need to also tweak our collision a little bit, because I kind of feel that it's sort of going through our collision. So what we can do is on this static object, turn off display geometry, go to collision tab, and here this thing generates the collision. So here's the division size. You can also do this in SOPs, by the way, but this just does it for you. We'll go into that later. But if I turn on collision guide, you can see the guide, and you can see it doesn't quite capture the detail that we want. Let's just increase our uniform divisions. All right, so now, and then let's turn this off again and enable it. Right. Right, so that works. Now let's just animate our, here on the right, this thing. Let's just animate, put a transform. Let's just animate our source. So what we can do on here on the top is just connect this to the right input. So now we can see this thing. Maybe we want to do is put on this transform, because you can see it's sort of in the center here. We want to have it in there, right? So we want to put it to the object space of this thing. What we can do is move center to origin, and this thing will go to the center, and then we can zero these out. Right. And maybe we want to make it a little bit smaller, because we don't want to go over the edges. Let's template again our thing, and let's just see how long do we want this to take. Maybe like 130 frames again. And again, we can change these timings later, but right. So let's go set a keyframe over here, and let's go 130. And let's just move it over here. And set a keyframe. And let's shift click on the translate. It's going to open the animation editor. So this is this is just Houdini's graph editor. Pretty straightforward. We want this to be a linear motion. So let's just put it to linear. So it doesn't do any easing in or easing out, because we're going to cut through these shots, and we just want it to be a linear motion in this case. All right. So now if we go to second input again, just play. You can see, maybe I'm going to turn down the resolution a little bit for now. We just care for it to be just a simple, very simple surface. Just something we can use for the animatic. So you can see this is drooping it on top. I mean, it's going a little bit over the thing here, but for now this is fine. We can tweak that later. Right, and I'm thinking that this thing should move a little bit further to the thing, right? Like that. We need to make sure that the keyframes are still linear. They are, right? And let's turn off the emission in this thing. We can say, so activation, if it's set to 1, it will keep emitting. If we say $F, which is means the current frame, if it's below 115, it will be activated, and else it won't. All right. So let's just have a look at that. Again, we're going to tweak this look. Of course, now it's not sort of nicely folding over each other and stuff like that. But that's completely fine for now. We're going to do all of that later. This is just going to be for timing for the animatic. Right, and then it's going to quit. And boop. All right, that looks cool. So let's cache this out. So in here, we have our dot network. You can see it's currently also loading our bar, which we don't want. We only want to load our flip object. So let's copy the name and let's put it in there. So now it's going to load our object. So let's put a null after this. You can see this will, so if we just look at this, this will load the thing. Alternatively, what you could do is use a .io. You could drag your top network in there, and then I could also put my flip object and then put this to flip. And you can see it will also load it. And if I do it like that, I also need to reference that I need that thing. All right. So this is another way to also load it. I mean, depends on what you're doing. But, right, so let's call this, I guess, out flip. Let's put a file cache in between here. Again, I have this set up with these presets, which just makes it easy for me to, so let's call it caramel sim. Let's save 150 frames. Let's change the viscosity a little bit just to make it a little bit thicker. Let's do 1200. Let's just save this to disk. Right, let's go. Right, so if we now press the load from disk, you can see we've loaded, we've saved it out. It goes a little bit across the surface here, but it's fine. So now let's make a surface from this for our flipbook. So let's call it particle fluid surface. And this is just a sub node that generates a surface from our fluid. Again, what we probably want to do is we want to link this up to our resolution. We already have this thing here, so what we can also just do is copy this, whoop, and then put it in here, particle separation, paste it. So yeah, now we have a particle fluid surface. It's pretty fast, so we probably don't need to cache this out for our flipbook. I mean, we could, but we don't necessarily need to do that. Right, so let's also make a placeholder for our cookie. So let's call this thing flip. Oh, by the way, you can go up with a U on your keyboard. So just because that's what I keep doing, so I might as well just tell you that that's how it works. All right, let's make another geometry. Let's call it cookie. And let's paste this thing in here, right? Then we have the cookie. Right, so now we have this animation. Now let's put a camera where we kind of like it, something like that. Let's press new camera. And again, this is gonna create the camera over here, but let's paste it inside of our network. Call this shot 020. All right, so let's go look through the camera. Let's zero out these rotations a little bit. Let's make this straight and 0. Right, so let's animate this. Kind of maybe want it to be a little bit like that. Let's make this a little bit wider maybe. I don't remember exactly what I used for lens. I can check that later, but for now let's just play with it. We can tweak this later. All right, so I'm gonna start a little bit more to the front. So like we can have a look at our thing if we want. Yeah, you can see it's quite wide, right? So maybe we want this to be more wide, 24. Make the cookie look very nice and big, like a big cookie. People want a big cookie. Cookie. All right. So let's yeah, you can see probably we need to have these this emitter start a little bit higher, but we can do that later. I mean, for now this is fine. All right, so let's animate our camera. Let's do the translation first. Let's move back. All right. All right, something like that. Let's open these keys up. Let's set it like that. We maybe want to do some rotation. This is what I had in my original. I kind of like that. So let's see. All right. So we want to rotate it around. So we want to, yeah. All right. So yeah. So what we need to do is in this transform order, change the because we're using a matrix to rotate. So let's put it to RX, RZ, RY. And now then I can sort of tumble it. And because you can see if I don't do that, then it's gonna rotate around a different around a different angle. So we need to do it like that. Right, so now let's keyframe. Let's start it at -7 or something. Keyframe, let's do it on the correct frame. Keyframe over here and put it to 7. All right. Let's shift click on it. Let's make these straight. If you want to change the default for these keyframes, by the way, you can do that in Edit, Preferences, General. Let me check where that was located again. It was under Animation, and you can say default function here is set to Bezier. We can put it to linear if you want. I'm going to leave it at Bezier, but just so you know how that works. All right, so now we have our second shot. So let's copy our top network from our shot 10, paste it in here, go in there. Let's just remove all of this stuff. Let's call this shot 20. Let's do one until frame 150. Let's say we want our scene path to be 20. Our camera, this one. And let's put to force object star. Because candidate objects will only export them if it's turned on. So if I were to turn this off, you wouldn't be able to see anything. While if I put it to force objects, it will just force everything inside of here. So this should be fine. I guess we could call this 20. And yeah, this all looks good. Let's press Shift V. Let's cook this. So we should get a folder over here, which is called 20 once this starts. It always takes a little bit to start up in the background, generally not too long. All right, so you can see shot 20. Let's go in there. And you can see it will start generating these images. And then once it's done, it's going to generate the MP4. And you can see how sort of easy it is with these. If you just assetize this, this is something that's super nice inside of Houdini, because this node is not here by default, but you can just make something like this yourself inside of Houdini. It's not even that hard to make something like this. Like I can dive in here, I can click on it. You can see it's just a couple of nodes. So that's why Houdini is super powerful. You can generate your own sort of setups like this. So that's quite cool. So that's something you couldn't really do in a lot of other programs, at least not easily. Right, so let's go in here. And there should be a MP4 now. Right, let's play. Right, so that should be good enough for our animatic. So let's continue with we're making good progress. So let's do shot 30, which is also a flip shot somewhat. So we can sort of keep some of the stuff we already have. So yeah, let's continue with that. Right, so let's just go inside. Let's grab some stuff from over here. So we have, because we kind of need this cookie, and let's just also grab let's just grab everything maybe. So we can just paste it over in here, and then we have this whole new work area here that we can work in. Let's hide our flip for now. And let's just grab our cookie. Right, so our beautiful cookie. Maybe what we want to do, by the way, like sometimes you have your rotation here goes out of whack because you were initially looking through another camera. What I generally do is just make another camera at the 0 point, and then if I go and look through this and if I space F, now it's reorganized. Might be another way to also do that, but that's just generally how I do it. All right, so we have this cookie, and let's just fake some caramel on it because we're gonna droop something on the caramel, and does it make sense to add some actual caramel on it for now. So in this case, yeah, let's just put some stuff on top here. So I guess what we could maybe do is just transform this up. And again, like all of the stuff that we're doing now is just going to be very rudimentary. Let's make a VDB from polygons. So this is going to make a VDB from this thing. And let's VDB smooth it. Smooth SDF. So it's going to smooth it out. Just so we get some kind of a feel that it's maybe some kind of a caramel look. Right, so let's also make a VDB from our cookie. So this thing. And then let's do a VDB combine. You can see how easy it is to sort of work with VDBs inside of Houdini. You can very easily, let's do add. Sometimes this might not work perfectly, so we need to probably change some, maybe union. Yeah, okay, there we go. Sometimes you just have to go through some of the options. Right, so let's increase the resolution on our cookie maybe. Let's make it 2. Right, so now we can, as you can see, we kind of get the idea that something is laying on top of our cookie. And again, we'll do all of this later properly. But for now, we just want something as a sort of a reference to, so we can have something in our animatic. So this kind of looks like a cookie, right? With the caramel on top of it. Right, let's output. And yeah, so this is going to be our cookie with our caramel, which we can then use as a collision object. Right, so let's go into our flip thing here. And we're going to change this emitter thing a little bit. So let's just take our transform. Let's delete these channels. Move this over. And we're going to swoop it over that way. And we're not going to need to do it completely, probably. Well, I guess we could. Let's just move it the other way. Something like that. And we're going to run into some issues here because this is not going to behave like we want it to. Because what we wanted to is we wanted to droop over and then sort of stick to the surface. And we're going to ignore that for now, for this thing. Because we need to do some custom work for that. And it doesn't make sense to do that in the animatic for now. So let's just pour this on top of what we already have. So I guess on the static object, let's just go into our shot 30. Let's just go in here and we need to grab our cookie there. So let's see if our cookie is actually loaded properly. So it's loading the wrong cookie there. So let's grab the right cookie. So let's go boop. Right, it's going to be the correct cookie. I'm going to go in here. Let's just make a very low resolution sim from this. And let's, I guess, decrease the viscosity a little bit maybe. What we can do is we can actually just decrease it in here. So this viscosity scale on the flip solver, this works as a multiplier. So if I make this 10, it's going to increase the viscosity that's incoming on the points by 10. Because as you remember, we set a viscosity here, so 1200. So if I were to double this, it would be 2400 because it's multiplying it. But if you put it to 0.1, it's going to just put it lower. Right. So let's just play. Probably need to up the resolution a little bit. And what we can maybe do, because right now it's going to sort of pour down here, which we don't want. In this case, maybe an easy, because we're going to solve this later in our actual setup, but I don't want to get into that yet. I just want to focus on the animatic. Let's just move this down, just so the so it doesn't go all the way across. And that's what we can do is, I guess, go to flip object, close boundaries, and let's close the boundaries. So now if we press, it's gonna stick on the bottom. Right, so you can see this is not particularly what we want for the final shot, because of course it's gonna droop over it, but for the animatic, for now, it's probably gonna be fine. We can just delete the stuff that's outside of there. So we just want something that's gonna sort of roughly behave like we want. And again, in the final thing, we're gonna have it sort of droop over and then swoop under on the side, but we need to do some custom stuff, and I don't wanna bother you with technical details yet. I just want to go through the process of just quickly configuring something for an animatic, because that's just generally something you want to do quickly to just present something to the client. Right, so I guess let's do the resolution a little bit higher, maybe still. And I guess maybe let's do the bottom a little bit lower. Right, and let's maybe increase the viscosity a little bit. Right, so let's just go up here and just cache this out. Caramel sim. Let's do choco sim, something like that. Let's just save it out for like 150 frames. Let's just save it to disk and see how it turns out. Let's take on this box. This will initialize any simulation operators. So because you can see down here in the bottom, we have this orange bar, which means this is sort of this still has some simulation in memory. As you can see, if I can scrub through it, you can see that this will sort of keep this in memory, and we want to start it all over, all over again. Right, so what we can do is just turn off cache simulation. And now if we're, like, for example, if we play, you can see it won't cache this in RAM. So that's something, you know, it's generally advised, like if you do a very high resolution cache, for example, generally you can turn this off. I guess for now we could also leave this on, but I just wanted to show that you can actually turn it off, because if you're gonna do high resolution sims, it's gonna keep it in memory, then you're kind of wasting memory, because it's gonna keep this stuff in the background in memory, which you don't want to do. Anyway, so let's just save this to disk. So it's caching pretty rapidly. It's not nothing too slow. Again, we don't care for the look for now. It's just going to be something that we can use inside of our animatic. Right. So looking pretty decent. Of course, in terms of timing, we should probably tweak some of that. But and I mean, with the increased viscosity, I guess it kind of looks pretty okay like this. So I guess let's grab our camera. Shot 30 cam, let's lock it. No, not that one. Let's just remove that one because it has the orientation all wrong. So let's call the other cam that we made. Let's call it shot 30. Let's put it to something like that. Let's do something like that. All right. So let's move our camera a little bit. Right. And now we kind of want to animate our camera across. So let's just set a keyframe. And maybe we, let's first change the focal length a bit. Maybe I want something a little bit more like close up. So a focal, like a high focal length. Because of course, remember, it's gonna depend on the shot that you're doing. But in general, we're like gonna be super close on the candy bar. We're gonna have a lot of depth of field just, and we kind of want this just to look like just like delicious. And in this case, we don't necessarily want it to look super big. Like in this shot, we want it to feel big. We want to really show the cookie. And here, higher focal length is probably a little bit better because it sort of squishes the image, makes it a little bit flatter, which makes this area just look, well, I guess not necessarily bigger, but like fuller or something. So I guess in this case, it might be nicer to have a larger focal length also because it's sort of a macro shot. But I just like, this is just my way of going about it. But you can do whatever you want. You could also do a very, I guess, low focal length and have something like this, but I just personally don't think that this suits the shot. I think something like 70 millimeters, 80 millimeters. This works better for this type of shot. But again, you can change it. You can try your own variations on it. So let's, I guess, maybe rotate a little bit like this. Right. So let's just keyframe this, translate. And yeah, so something like that. Let's just move it over. Probably, maybe we want some rotation, not necessarily. So something like that. Now we need some cookies dropping down on it. So let's just make something very simple. We don't need any dynamics to do that. Let's just do something very simple. Let's do a empty geometry node. Let's make a box. Let's just move this up. Because again, we're just only caring now for just having an idea of what it's going to be. It doesn't need to be polished yet. Just want to show you how quickly you can sort of mesh something together. So let's do ISO offset, or you can do VDB from polygons. It's just something to... The ISO offset will generate Houdini's internal volumes, like its own volumes. For just scattering points, these are fine. You can also just use VDBs. Right, so let's do something like that. I guess maybe let's make our box a little bit higher. Let's turn down the relax iterations. So it's not going to relax as much. And let's do a little bit less points. Let's do copy to point. And let's copy some spheres. Let's do attribute create, by the way. Oh no, attribute randomize, sorry. Attribute randomize. Let's put it before here. This will randomize an attribute that's on here. We want the P scale. We don't want the color. You see by default it does the color, so we get these weird colors. P scale. Let's do one dimension. Let's make between 0.5 and 1. Generally, what I find useful is just to keep these values between 0 and 1. Always try to work between 0 and 1, and then we can use the multiplier here to make it smaller. So instead of like doing like very small values in here, it just makes more sense, in my opinion, to just keep these between 0 and 1 and then use the multiplier. Right. Something like that. Let's make this a polygon sphere, by the way. Polygon. Let's add a mountain. Let's make a small noise. Just want to add some detail. Like it's kind of feels a little bit more like peanuts, even though we're going to do that a little bit later. But for now, for the timing, right, let's just call these nuts. Nuts, all right. Let's move it up a little bit. Right. And so let's move through this. So then the logo will appear here eventually. We're not gonna do that. I guess maybe we could already do the logo. Maybe because the client maybe would like to see the logo. So, but let's first animate these nuts down. So let's just transform them down. Right, something like that. Let's shift click on this and we want to ease it. We don't want to ease it out. We want it to increase it in speed. So I was doing it wrong. We want to right. So yeah, easing and speeding up. All right. So logo thing. Maybe we do want to get the logo in there. Right, let's grab the logo from somewhere. So we had the logo over here in the first shot, I think. Let me just turn this to manual. So if you put to manual, it won't update. Right, so let's grab our logo thing here. Let's go into flip. Let's paste these nodes. So remember, these were the, if we do hide, this is the logo that we had. So on this particle fluid surface, this will by default output points as a polygon soup. We can also put it to surface VDB. So now it will just output a VDB. And then what we could do is we could do similar to what we did here. Just copy and paste the reshape SDF. We need to make sure that our logo is kind of in the right position. So let's move this up. All right, so let's look through our camera. And now it's going to act weird over here. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to turn down the offset here, keyframe it. So maybe we want to start it like over here, set a keyframe, and just increase it like that. Boop. And then over here, let's do convert VDB, and then convert it to polygons ourselves. And you can always go into these nodes, because now we put this to surface VDB, but actually this particle fluid surface, you can just dive in here. So if you double click on it, you can see a whole bunch of nodes. If you right click on it, you can go to allow editing of contents. If you then double click on it, you can see an entire network. Let me Control B in here. So you can see it's doing a lot of the same stuff, like it's doing using all of these VDB tools, and then eventually it does convert VDB. So, but if we just output the VDB, is going to bypass that step, and we can just do it ourselves. So let's go to match current definition. All right, something like that. Let's go through this. All right. So seems pretty straightforward. Let's go into this top net. Let's call this shot 30. Shot 30. Let's say we want to use this thing. What am I doing? All right. So camera, we want to use the camera from shot 30. It keeps jumping back for some reason. Force objects, it's fine, that's fine. 150. Yeah, that's all looking pretty good. So let's just cook this, and then we're gonna have a flipbook. All right, so this finished cooking. So let's go in there. Let's have a look. And our logo, and we have some peanuts dropping. I think we need to have the peanuts drop a little bit slower. So let me just redo that part. Let's have them. Let's go over here. It's going to be easier. Let's just keep them dropping until frame 150 and drop them and let's start dropping them a little bit later. So I'm just going to right click, delete, and generate this again, and then we should have something nice. All right, so let's have a look. Right, looking good. Yeah, so with that out of the way, let's do the next one. So this one, and then, well, then we're almost done. Then we just have 40, then we have 50, well, and then 55, which is the back shot. But yeah, so let's just do 40, and then continue. And then once we have the whole thing done, we can just put it in an edit, see how it works, and then we can actually start, well, making the actual shots. Right, so let's do shot 40. It's going to be the peanut thing here. Let's just dive in there and let's just make some kind of a peanut type thing, I guess. Let's just make a sphere. And let's make it a polygon. So we're just going to fracture this thing and just grab a piece of it. So let's do the material fracture again. Where is it? Material fracture. And I'm just going to think again. Finger's always a little bit slow, which is a little bit annoying. So if we do exploded view, you can have a look at it like this. Let's just add a little bit of detail. So go to detail and enable edge detail. And probably want to increase the element size. Right, so again, we're gonna polish this all up later, but let's just grab a thing that we like. Let's first pack this. So create pack geometry. Let's select one. Gonna delete non-selected. So because this one looks kind of nice. Let's unpack this again. And let's now do match size. So match size, we'll put it in the center. It's actually not meant for that. It's actually meant to sort of match the size of something. Let's say if I make a big geometry here, and if I then put it like this, I could move this pig around, for example, and then it would match the center of the pig. Or I could, for example, enable scale to fit, and it would match the size of the pig. I could put it uniform scale or not uniform scale, but that's actually what it's meant for. But if you don't do any of that, it will just put it to the center because the alignment position is set to 0. So just an easy trick to sort of put it into the center. All right, so let's copy this to a grid. So let's make a grid because what we're going to be doing is we're going to drop this just down. Just with some rigid bodies. Of course, like later we're gonna work this a little bit more, which of course this needs to look like chocolate that's falling in. And spoiler alert, this actually isn't a fluid simulation in the bottom. But for now, we're just gonna drop them with some rigid bodies and just add something like a ground type element just for animatic, and later we'll get back to it, just like all of the other stuff that we did before. So just very quickly, let's make a grid. And let's get some points on it. Turn down relax iterations. Let's copy 2 points. Let's put them like that, put it like that. And let's do an attribute randomize. Let's randomize the p-scale. And these are just some of these values that you kind of need to remember. Like p-scale or norm, like n for normal or orient. These are just things that come up everywhere. Let's go from between 0.5 to 1, and then use the global scale to set sort of this to set the overall scale. I prefer to do it like this instead of like using very small numbers in here, for example, which is of course also possible. But the problem is there that it's just going to be a little bit harder to get this to look the way you want, and you generally always want to work with randomized values between 0 and 1, and then you can just multiply them. All right, so we have this thing. Let's do another attribute randomize. Now let's randomize the orientation. So orient needs to be 4 dimensions because it's a quaternion. Don't worry about what a quaternion is if you don't know. Quaternions are a way to rotate stuff in 3D without gimbal lock. If you don't know what gimbal lock is either, don't worry about it. You can look it up if you want, but it's kind of outside of the scope of this thing. But just if you're gonna do orientations, general orient is fine. You can also use normals and just make it a tree, but generally doing it with the orient is quite nice. Right. Anyway, so randomize the orientation, and now what we maybe want to do is sort of offset these randomly a little bit. So there's multiple ways we could do this. We could, because we want to drop these down to the floor in a bit. We could add something to the grid like a mountain, or we could just write a very simple wrangle to randomly offset them. So let's call a float. Let's call it R. You could name this whatever you want. It's just going to be a holding variable equals a random. We're going to call a random function based on the point number. So this will now generate a random value between 0 and 1. Now we're going to say at p.y, so the y position, plus equals r times, and then whatever offset we want. So I guess we could just type maybe just 5, maybe more, maybe 10. We could also make a slider for that, but so we just get some random offset here. All right. Right, now let's do a, let's put an assemble down here. And let's create back geometry and let's create names. So now we have some names on this because we want to have these drop to the ground. So we're going to need some names for them. Right, so we don't pack there, we do it over here. We could also alternatively pack here, but let's just do it like this for now. Now let's make a rigid body solver. It's RBD solver, BD solver. Right. So SideFX has been moving more and more stuff into SOPs, which is quite nice. The past couple of releases, I think this was introduced in, I think 17.5 or it was 18, but this is an easy way to sort of do some rigid bodies inside of SOPs, because you generally want to try to do as much as you can inside of SOPs, which is the service level stuff. And of course you can dive in here and then do other stuff. But anyway, let's go to the ground here and just enable a ground plane so they have something to fall on. And let's just press. Right, so now you can see they're falling down. But they're falling down and then they're sort of rolling around, which you don't want. So let's go to forces. Where is it? Forces. And let's add spin drag. So this will add drag, a drag force to the spin. So if we increase the spin resistance, let's like make it whatever, like 4. Just play. You can see them falling down and then they come to a halt pretty quickly. So we could increase this if we want to like 10. Yeah, it's working pretty okay. There's, for some reason, there's one going through the ground there. Or is that just... Not sure what's up with that. Let's have a look at why that's happening. Okay, so yeah, obviously it's because they already start out through the ground, so we don't want that. So let's just transform this up a little bit. I keep pressing my Windows button. Right, so let's just move this up a little bit, and then if we're gonna do it like this, it's gonna fall to the ground, burp, like that. And let's just put a null down here, so we don't have the template stuff anymore. And something like this is probably, so let's just add a camera for now. So let's go over here. Let's make a camera. Let's call it show 40. Let's lock it and let's go something like this. All right. Guess like something like this. Let's do again pretty high focal length, which is going to be nice for this shot. Let's go into like the nice depth of field and stuff. Right. So we're just gonna fall down like this. Pretty straightforward. Probably maybe want a little bit more. Let's do 44. And then let's just cache this out. And even though we're just doing super simple stuff for the animatic, this is already quite usable later when we're going to do the actual shot. Then we already have some sort of a base setup. And you can see how fast it is to just do it like this. I mean, we could animate these pieces by hand for the animatic, but Houdini has all of these dynamic tools baked in and they're quite easy to use now, especially with the SOP stuff. So might as well just use it, well, to make an animatic, right? So let's call it peanut fall. Let's save a range. Let's do it 150. And let's initialize again. Let's save the disk. And the simulation was so fast that it took more time to save it to disk, even though I have NVMe rate. So, all right, so we have these things falling. So pretty simple stuff. What we now, let's make a output, or not yet. That's what we should probably do, is let's fake that they're sort of falling in chocolate. Which is also kind of what we're going to be doing later. But later, so I'm not actually using a flip simulation here, which what you might think, like, oh, this might be a flip simulation. But I'm faking this even in the actual shot. Because of, like, a lot of times, just doing it simple is better than doing it the advanced way. So anyway, let's just do a grid. Let's just move this over. We're not going to do any of the interaction right now where it's like really sinking into this stuff. We're going to do that when we do the actual shot. For now, let's just increase this size. Just poly extrude it out. Poly extrude. Let's just extrude it downwards to get something like this. And now let's make a VDB from polygons from this. All right. So polygon, again, like these VDBs are super useful. You can use them everywhere. Right, so then we have these things. And remember, what we can also do is use the same reshape type stuff that we did earlier. So let's also do a VDB from polygons here. Oh, no, not on that side. On this side, little man. Right, so we get this. Let's make it a fog VDB. And let's do reshape. Let's reshape this STF that we have with whatever it's coming in here. Let's put it to erode. And let's just have a look at our, so we need to move up our surface here a little bit so that the pieces will actually be inside of the chocolate, so something like this. And let's increase maybe this resolution a little bit. Oh. Take a little bit longer to cook. Let's see if this actually works. Yeah, so you can see it's sort of forming this little gap thing here. Let's just do convert VDB. And we're going to work on this more later to sort of push, like to have them actually sink into a surface. But for now, let's have a look. This should be fine. Right, so let's split this up. Let's maybe just output the peanuts here separately. So call this, I guess, peanuts. And then let's do an output on this side. Let's copy these peanuts here. Call this ground. And then another geometry. Peanut drop. All right. Let's just object merge these things in here. And did I actually select the thing properly? No. So let's grab these. So copy it. This will copy the path to that thing. Then I should be able to paste it in there. Right, so now it is working. So now let's go up a level. And I think actually for this animatic, the VDB thing, having it erode out doesn't do much. So let's just keep it as a regular polygons. It's gonna be faster with the flipbook. Then we'll do the other stuff later. So for now, let's just keep it like this. So it kind of looks like they're falling through the ground, but that's fine for now. Let's animate our camera a little bit. Set a keyframe. Let's move forward. And let's rotate maybe as well. Set a keyframe and let's look upwards a little bit. All right, something like that looks pretty good. Let's grab one of our flipbook generators. Whoop. Go up. Whoop. Let's paste it. Let's go in there. And then let's go over here. And we're going to call this 40. You can see how fast we're going with just cranking out simple shots, which already, like, they're not only animatic. We can actually use these to actually also have a base for actual shots later. Keep jumping to that, which I don't want. Right, scene path like that. Force all objects, that's fine. Yeah, so something like that. So let's just say we wanna generate a flipbook for this. What might have also made sense is to just put all these flipbook generators inside the top level here, so tasks, and then we would have all lined them up here, which might actually be easier in this case. Maybe you can do this while this is cooking. Then we have one central place to sort of export all these flipbooks if we have to do that later. So what we could do is grab these two, put them over there to the right. If it wants to actually paste them, so Control C, Control V. Why are you not doing it? It's oh, need to make a top network. Sorry, top network. Right. So let's put those in there. So we kind of have more like a centralized place to sort of do all of that. Let's do this thing. No, Control C. Why is it not copy that one? Right. And 30. And let's do this one. You can see that one's also now finished cooking, so it should be here. So let's go. Let's have a look. Beautiful. Perfect for Animatic. So now we'll be bringing everything on there. That's probably easier to do. So let's just remove it in here. Yeah, so last one that remains is going to be this one, the breaking wall, and of course 55 where we see the actual bar. But the main one is going to be this one. So yeah, let's build this breaking thing with caramel. Probably we'll leave the caramel for the animatic, or we just do something very simple to just. I'm not going to do any simulation for that yet. So yeah, let's just dive into that one. Okay, so for shot 50, we don't really have an actual candy yet. So let's just, again, just make one, just fake one. Fake it till you make it. So let's make a geometry. Let's make a box. Let's just model some sort of a simple candy. So let's just, I guess, make that a bit longer. And let's do polygon mesh, so we get something like that. Let's do 3 division in Z. Let's do it like this. Let's just move this up a little bit. Beautiful. Let's what did I do? I don't want to do that. Right, let's let's just grab these edges, let's bevel them. Just making sort of a simple outline for our, and let's bevel. Right. Let's, I guess, make this make it a little bit less high, maybe. All right. So let's PDB from polygons, just so we have something that we can sort of break in half. we smooth SDF. So you can see how you can use these VDB tools also to just make just some sort of simple modeling type things. All right, let's do convert VDB, and let's convert the polygons. And right, let's shatter this. I guess let's do Boolean. So Boolean has a fracture, so you can use that fracture. So let's make something to fracture it with. So let's make a grid. Something like that. Let's make it a little bit smaller. 2 by 2. Something like that. And let's put that in the second input of the Boolean. And then let's put it to, where is it? Let's do shatter. And let's just set B. So the second thing is going to be a surface, because it's a surface, is not a solid. And let's add a mountain top to this, just to add a little bit of noise. And now we should be able to get, as long as let's assemble it, let's see if this actually works. Yeah, so now this will generate the name attribute. And now with VDC, if we do exploded view, you can see we get just 2 nice pieces. All right, so let's split these up into 2 now. So let's just put this as an out. Let's go up a level. Let's call this bar. Let's make a node here and call this left, and another, let's call it right. Right. So let's go into our left here. Let's object merge our thing, and let's paste in the out from our, why is it not working? Let me just grab it again. Let's go in here, let's paste it. Let's maybe also navigate to our subnet over here. Right, so let's just blast away left side. Maybe what we want to do in the bar, let's assemble it with the assemble, let's pack it. Right, let's just blast away. So let's go press 2 on your keyboard to go to point selection mode, and let's just blast non-selected the right side. And then if we go to the right, let's just copy this stuff and put it into the right side. And boop, something like that. Right, so now you can see if we just hide the bar here, we have a left side, and we can animate, and we have a right side, and we can also animate. So let's set these pivot points. So if I select this and I press insert on my keyboard, I can move the pivot. Let's just move the pivot. Do I get something like that? Just over there, so it's gonna rotate around that point. And with this thing, let's do the same. All right. Let's turn that off. So now we can rotate it like that. So now we can do the splitting of the candy bar thing. So let's put a camera here. Let's just put camera. And as you can see, we're going to actually animate this on object level, because for this just makes sense. Shot 50. Let's look through the camera. So select these and then Shift F. And we do want, again, this to be pretty high focal length. Something like that. Right, so in the actual shot, we have the camera sort of panning like this. And then it's going to break. So how do we want to do the panning? Well, what we can do is put a null, and we can actually link cameras to a null. So now it's linked. So if I look through the camera now, and if I now rotate the null, you can see we can do this panning thing. Just gonna come in handy. So I guess let's first animate this maybe over, I guess, 90 frames to sort of rotate to, I guess, this position. Wait, let's first animate these sides maybe, and then we're going to do the camera. So let's say at frame 90, they're going to split. So let's keyframe the rotation and translation of both of these. And I guess in like, let's do 30 frames or something. They're going to be All right, let's oh, I'm looking at the wrong side, by the way, with my camera. So let me just rotate my camera to the other side. Right. All right, so now it should match up. All right, so now what I can do is I can rotate this, something like that. Keyframe it. Right, other side. Let's just go out of our camera. Let's do that as well. Right, it's looking pretty good. Let's do the camera animation. So it's gonna rotate until frame 90. And it's gonna move up like that. And whoop. Maybe we want to keep rotating a little bit when it's already breaking. That might just look a little bit nicer. Also, it's just gonna look a little bit weird. Right, so something like that. So, whoop. And you can see now they're sort of slowly breaking open, which is not what we want. What we probably want is shift click on the rotation. And let's just grab our handles and sort of have them go really fast and then slow down. So let's just make them like that. Let's do the same on the right side. Shift click on it. We just do it like that. Like that. And do it like that. All right. So now we should have more of a pop kind of. Yeah, that's what we want. And then we want them to close again. So I guess have them return to normal over there. So 0, 0, 0. Let's do the other one. Also 0, 0, 0. Like that. And then we want the camera here to zoom out. So let's keyframe our camera. Let's just move it out in about the same. Let's a little bit more. Right, so something like that. Right, so that's looking pretty good. And we want the bar to rotate slightly when this happens. So let's make a null here. So we can actually rotate it. So you can see you can easily link this stuff up in object level. So let's keyframe. And let's, I think we need to put it to like something like that. Rotation order. Right, so let's rotate a little bit like this. And then we should also still be able to rotate it like that. All right, so let's put it over here. Let's rotate it slightly to the side. And then it's gonna keep rotating to completely the other side over the frames of our sequence. So it's gonna be something like this. All right, so let's just look, something like that. So let's press on this thing. Let's make it straight. That's right. Something like this looks pretty okay. So it's gonna play, it's gonna snap open, and do like this. All right, so we're gonna leave the caramel for now because it's just gonna be for the animatic. But I think it's gonna be clear enough that there's gonna be something there. I guess we could put the logo in there because that's something like a client might want to see. So we could, similar to how we did in the other shots, let's just grab where we go to, I think it was over here. Let's just grab our thing and let's just in the bar, let's integrate the logo. Because it's just something like if you're gonna send this, I'm trying to treat this like similar, like how you would do it for a client. A client just wants to see some like a logo. Like if you don't have the logo, they're going to be upset. Like, oh, why is my logo not there? Because that's clearly the most important thing. So let's do let's do another reshape here. So where we have the normalize, let's do the reshape. Let's put the arrow. You see how easy we can reuse all of these nodes to just stuff that we made before, and then we're just reusing it. Very easy stuff. Let's scale this a little bit. Increase that. Let's increase the smoothing. All right, beautiful. Again, it's all procedural, so that's also still gonna work. And I think the logo should be rotated the other way around in this case. Let's just grab. Right. So I'm just rotating. You can see how fast this is. This is all just completely procedural. So something like this looks pretty good. Snap. Okay, so yeah, so what's happened here, because we're selecting stuff here non-procedurally, is that these have switched around. So let's just change that again. Right. So now this should work. Rip and rip. All right. So let's just export this. Let's go to our tasknet, task operators. Let's make it, call it 50. This is going to be slightly longer, so let's do 40. And we want that to be 50, 50, and show 50. All right, that's looking good. Force objects. We don't want to. We want to have left and right. Right. So let's just let me just flipbook this, and then should be good to go to edit this. So let's go. But it's finished generating. So let's just go in here. Shot 50. Let's just play. Boop. And right. Looking looking what we were expecting, right? So let's just jump into any editing software that you have. Again, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on like the editing side of this itself. Like, use whatever you want. I'm gonna edit this in Premiere because this is mainly what I use for this stuff. But you can use Resolve, you can use whatever you want to edit this. Final Cut, or if you're an Apple or whatever. So I'm gonna jump into Premiere and I am going to edit this. All right, so I have taken my sound edit that I made before because I didn't really want to do that. So it's an edit with Lo-Fi Mallet by Quan. It's a free soundtrack. I got this from the YouTube audio library, so it's free to use. So that's where the audio came from. So let me just very quickly go to audio track mixer. Let me just turn down the volume here a little bit, so if I'm gonna talk that you won't be annoyed that you cannot hear what I. Right. So something like this. It's going to be the audio, and what I've done, I've loaded in all of my flipbooks. So I just loaded in the JPEG sequences. So let's just put them in. Right. So my sequence size here is not, so let's just scale this up. I think this one didn't export at full HD, which is fine, but right, so there's over here, there's sort of a speed up moment. So I'm just gonna speed this up. Speed this up by 200%. And we're just gonna edit this together. So similar to how I would do it in. Yeah, so just edit it together. I'm just gonna finish this. Just gonna stop the recording because it's not gonna be too interesting to see this. I'm just gonna match my edit that I did for the original video, but then we'll have the animatic here. All right, so I've put together the quick edit from our animatic, and let's play. Let's see what it looks like. Wasn't sure why it stopped just there, so let's try it again. Yeah, so you can see I have a couple of speed up points, so I sped up the entire thing here just to match kind of what I have with my original. So if we look at the original again. So you can see it's pretty much the same, only far less polished. But again, this is just the animatic stage, and we can see how quickly we were able to mesh this together, and we can use all of the stuff we did here to just bring it into our actual scene, and we already have some sort of a base that we can build upon. So yeah, let's just keep this open in the background. We can render this out as animatic if we want, as a sort of a reference point. But yeah, I hope you can see how easy it also is to just do an animatic like this in Houdini, where you have like all of the simulation tools at your disposal as well. There's like some stuff like we need to work on the timing for some stuff. I'm not gonna polish that up in the tutorial part of it. I'll leave that up to you, like polish up the timings and stuff however you want. I spend a lot of time with this thing, like working on all of the timings and like in the simulations, and I was happy. But for now, for this thing, in terms of animatic, I think this is good enough to move on. So let's start just splitting up all of our individual scenes. And let's make the actual shots based on our animatic. Alright, so let's start splitting up our stuff into actual project, or into actual shots. Let's just go into our folder. Let's go into Houdini, and we have, this is where we had the folder called Animatic. Let's just make our shot numbers here. So let's do shot. You know what? Let's just copy and paste a couple of folders. It's going to be faster to just do it. All right. So let's just right click and then shot. Or shot 010, shot 015, shot 020, shot 030, shot 050, and well, I guess we can just keep it like that. So 10, 15, right, so 10 and 15 are actually one shot, so maybe we don't necessarily need 15 there. Let's just do it like that. 10, 20, 30, oh, we're almost forgetting 40. So let's make one called 40. All right, so now we have our proper project folders. Again, you can organize however you want. You could also just put it all on a top level here. So I could also just make shot folders here and then individual folders inside of that. But since we're only using Houdini for the 3D here, we can just keep it, I guess, in the Houdini folder. We could even delete all of the other software folders there. Or you can add stuff if you're using more software. All right, so let's just start splitting this out to multiple projects, I guess. Yeah, so just open up a couple of instances of Houdini. So I'm just going to do the launcher. I'm just going to open up a couple of instances. It's going to be easier to already open a couple, then we can then we don't have to sort of close them down. Right, so just opening a couple. Right, so something that we shouldn't forget to do is also to, for this new project, make sure to set our frame rate to 30 because our default frame rate was 24. So make sure to do that on every single shot that you're doing. Make sure to put it to 30, that you don't forget, and already animating on your like that you don't start animating on 24 and then later discover, oh no, we don't have the right frame rate. So that's the one. So let's just save out some stuff. So let's just, I guess, so shot 10. So let's just save this to. So SESI-Snacks shot 010 v001. So something like that. So just proper naming convention. So project, shot name, and then the version number. So let's just save it over there. And let's open up another instance. I guess we could also just do it from one, but right, so let's save this one. Do it on so let's go over there. Shot 20. Maybe we just copy the name here. It's just gonna be easier. Let's do it like that. Right, so shot 20. Whip. And like if you're doing this with project with multiple people, might just make sense, like I'm doing now, to just split it out initially, so we already have all of the files that people can then start working in. And I have to admit, when I initially built this, a lot changed, so I'm doing it a lot more organized now than I did initially, but this would be the proper sort of way to organize your project. So like that, that's 30. And do another one here. And we don't have, let's save another instance over here. All right. We actually need to open up an extra instance here. All right, so we have all of these things here. So this is our animatic. So let's just start copying over this stuff. So let's go shot 10. This is shot 10. Let's paste it in there. So we need that one, and what we also need, we need our shot parameters. So shot parameters. So let's just go over here. And the only thing that we need to change there is that and I need to disable this GeForce overlay that keeps popping up, but let's just call it shot 010. Right, so this will propagate later to our render folders and stuff. So now this should all work. So yeah, let's just go back to our thing here. Let's grab shot 20 plus this. Let's go shot it's 30. Let's go to 20. Yep, there we go. And oh, I accidentally didn't copy this one. So this is shot 20. So we just type shot 20. And I know this is the boring part of doing all of this, but believe me, if you just stay organized from the get-go, life will be a lot easier. And I'm trying to teach you how to sort of do a properly organized, oh, this is the wrong thing. So I'm just trying to teach you how to properly sort of organize a project inside of Houdini when you're doing a client job, because client jobs can quickly get very chaotic. So if you just do it properly from the beginning, then you're gonna avoid a lot of issues down the line, right? So this is gonna be shot 030, and then we have this one. So let's open up. Right, let's open up 40 because we didn't have an instance for that yet. And let's go over here. So let's select these two. 40, let's paste. Shot 40. And the last one, gonna be this one, 50. But you can see how easy it is to just copy and paste this stuff over to different sessions, and it should all work. Shot 050. So other things that we need to do is we need to set our $job for each individual thing. You can also bake that in this asset if you want. You could have this auto configure to $job, but there might be some instances where you don't want to do that. That might be something that I'm going to update in this asset, maybe by the time that you're watching this, to auto set it. What we're just going to do is go to set project and set it to the current $hip location. That will mean that our caches will not be there when we try to load them, because remember, all of our caches will be set at the previous Animatic location, but that's fine because we're going to redo all of that anyway. Right, so that, and I think I still need to do this one. Set project. All right, so yeah, everything is set properly. We can go in here. We now have everything split up. So this was our animatic scene with our flip books and everything there. So yeah, shot 10, shot 20, shot 30, shot 40, and shot 50. You can see it already makes a backup thing. You can change the frequency of your backups if you go to preferences. So it automatically does auto-saving. So let's see where that was located again. So save and load, and you can see it's set to currently to do every 1 minute. Maybe it's a little bit extreme. Let's do 5 minutes. So anyway, that's how you can change that. So yeah, now let's actually move along. So this is this was the first part of doing the animatic, configuring the whole project folders. So now let's just start walking through our scenes one by one. So let's first start with the first two shots. So shot 10 and shot 15, which is going to be the cookie coming together.